I need you to stop scrolling. I know you have seen divine letters before. I know that every single day your feed fills with messages from angels, from heaven, from the Most High. I know that by now your heart has learned to receive those messages with one hand and keep moving with the other. I understand that. I have been doing this long enough to know that the spiritual space online has become crowded with words that all sound urgent and all sound personal and all claim to carry heaven's seal. I am not going to tell you this is different. People who want your attention always say it is different. What I am going to do instead is show you something. This came today, not from a production team, not through the normal preparation this channel uses for every message that comes through it. This arrived in a way I am still sitting with, and I want to be honest with you about that. Because I think honesty is the thing that separates a real word from a performance. When I broke this seal, I did not immediately open the USB inside it. I sat with the package on my lap for a long time because there was something else in here, a photograph, printed, physical, and on the back of that photograph, 4 words written by hand that I am not going to read to you right now, not because I am being dramatic, but because Archangel Michael was very specific about when those 4 words are to be spoken in this letter. And those of you who have sat with content from this channel for any length of time already know when Archangel Michael is specific about something, you do not rearrange it. But here is what I need you to understand before I press play on what is on this drive. I receive messages claiming to be from heaven every week. I have sat in front of content that promises urgency and delivers generalities. I have seen divine letters that could have been written for anyone, addressed to everyone, and targeted at no one in particular. This channel exists because I got tired of that. And this message, this specific one, arriving today the way it arrived, is the reason I started this channel in the first place. Because this one is not about a category of people. This one is about a situation, a specific situation, one that is happening right now, in real time, in the life of the person watching this. A situation that involves another person, a hidden dynamic, a spiritual drain that has been so slow and so patient and so carefully designed that most people living inside it have no idea they are inside it at all. And I am about to press play on a letter that names it, describes it, and addresses it with a precision that, when you hear it, you will feel in your chest before your mind can catch up. Before I do that, let me ask you one question, just one. Is there someone in your life who, after you spend time with them, leaves you feeling just slightly less than you were before? Not dramatically, not in a way you could easily explain, just a little quieter, a little smaller, a little further from yourself. If you nodded at that question, stay, because what is on this drive was sent for you today, not for the general audience of this channel, for the soul sitting exactly where you are sitting right now. The letter is about to begin, and before it ends, I am going to pick up this photograph again, and I am going to read you those 4 words. At the exact moment this letter says to read them, I think those 4 words are going to be the thing you most needed to hear today. Archangel Michael, speak.
There is an image with this letter. chosen before a single word was written. Dorothy is holding it now. Look at it. This is not decoration. This is a word delivered in the language of sight. Study it before we continue. Something has been hidden from you, not by accident, not by divine neglect, not because the Most High forgot the details of your particular situation. It has been hidden from you deliberately, strategically, and with a level of patience that tells me whoever designed that concealment understood exactly what they were doing. But today, that concealment ends. I am Archangel Michael, not a feeling, not a symbol, not a metaphor for some inner strength you are supposed to summon on your own. I am the warrior of the Most High God, commissioned at the beginning of all things to stand between the children of the living God and every force that moves against them, in both the visible and invisible realms. And I was sent to find you today, not to comfort you with vague promises, not to rehearse things you have already heard, but to bring you a specific, targeted, actionable word that addresses what is actually happening in your life right now, and to tell you, with the full weight of the authority given to me, that it ends here. Hear me. I am going to begin somewhere that most messages like this one do not begin. I am going to begin with who you are, not who you have been in your worst moments, not who the pain of recent years has tried to reduce you to, but who you actually are, at the level that was established before you drew your first breath, before the circumstances of your life began to layer themselves over the original design. You were marked before you were born. That is not poetry. That is a precise spiritual reality. Before the Most High formed the framework of your personality, before He chose your family line and your country and your generation, He inscribed a purpose into the architecture of your soul, a particular calling, a specific assignment that could only be carried out by the exact combination of gifts, experiences, scars, and understanding that would accumulate across the specific life you have been given. No one else was built for your assignment. It was calibrated entirely to you. And that is exactly why your life has been the site of so much resistance. Stop. Dorothy is holding a card. One declaration, written in black and white because some truths need no color. Read it once, then read it again and let it go deeper. Understand this. The opposition that has followed you throughout your life is not evidence that you are cursed. It is not evidence that the Most High is absent or indifferent. It is evidence of the exact opposite. Ordinary lives do not attract this quality of opposition. Ordinary assignments do not generate this level of sustained, persistent, targeted resistance. What you have been walking through, the setbacks that should not have been as severe as they were, the relationships that turned in directions that defied logic, the seasons of exhaustion that did not lift the way exhaustion normally does. None of that was random. None of it was simply your lot in life or the ordinary difficulty of being human. It was opposition, targeted, intentional, sourced from a specific place. And today I am going to identify that source for you. But first, I need you to understand something foundational, because without this piece, the rest of this message will not land the way it is meant to land. What the Most High allows to come against His children is never greater than what He has already equipped them to overcome. That is not a Sunday morning slogan. That is a spiritual law, which means that every single thing that has come at you, every pressure, every betrayal, every season of confusion, every midnight when the silence felt unbearable, you have survived all of it. You are still here. You are still standing. You are still at the level of your spirit, reaching toward the Most High rather than running from Him. And that fact, that one extraordinary fact, is itself the testimony that the enemy most wanted to prevent. You did not break. The opposition was designed to break you. It did not succeed. And that means you have arrived at this moment not as a casualty, but as a warrior who simply has not yet been told the full scope of the battle. They just survived. Today, I am telling you, look at this woman. Look at where she is standing. And look at what stands behind her, what she cannot yet see. This is where you are standing right now. Look before this letter continues. There is a person in your life. I am going to ask you to hold that statement and let it settle before I continue, because the way it settles in your body will tell you something important. There is a person, someone whose name would appear in the recent history of your phone or in the geography of your daily life, or in the circle of people you think of as known to you, who has been operating against your flourishing for longer than you have been aware of it. I need to be precise about what I mean when I say against your flourishing, because that phrase can sound vague, and it is not vague at all. I mean that this person, through specific spoken words, through specific hidden intentions, through specific conversations, had, without your presence and without your knowledge, has been actively working to ensure that certain things in your life do not progress the way the Most High intends them to progress. They have been interfering with your peace. They have been muddying the waters of your perception. They have been positioning themselves near enough to your heart that their agenda could travel on the frequency of your trust. This did not happen in a single conversation. It has been a slow, patient, accumulated process. And that slowness is part of what made it so difficult for your conscious mind to identify. Sudden betrayals are recognizable. Sharp, dramatic moments of harm are registerable and grievable and processed. But the kind of harm I am describing, the slow, almost imperceptible erosion of spiritual ground through repeated small violations of trust, that kind of harm accumulates beneath the threshold of awareness, until the day you take stock and realize that somewhere between where you were and where you are now, something was taken from you, and you cannot quite account for when or how. I can account for it. I was there. I observed every exchange. And today, I am releasing that accounting to you. Stop and think. Think about the last time you spent time with this person or spoke with them at length, in the hours or days following that interaction. Did something in you tighten, not dramatically, not in a way that would be easy to explain or justify to someone else, but a kind of subtle closing down, a faint but distinct sense that you had given something away that you could not retrieve, that you had revealed something that landed in a place it should not have been taken, that your energy, in some quiet and unnameable way, was less available to you after that encounter than had been before it. That sensation is not neurosis. That sensation is not oversensitivity. That sensation is your spirit, the most accurate instrument you possess, registering exactly what was occurring in the spiritual dimension of that exchange. The Most High designed your spirit to function as a perceptive instrument of extraordinary precision. The problem has never been that your spirit did not know. The problem has been that your generous, loyal, grace-extending heart kept offering alternative explanations. That ends today. Your spirit registered every truth in this letter before your mind was ready to receive it. Dorothy is holding the card that confirms what your spirit already knew. Read it. There is something else I must bring to your attention. Something that this person is involved in right now, at this very moment, that has been hidden from you. They have had a conversation within a very recent window of time in which your name was used in a context that was not loving, not a casual, throwaway mention, a deliberate conversation in which information you shared with this person in confidence was offered to another individual as material for judgment. The intent of that offering was not concern, it was erosion. The slow, quiet erosion of how you are perceived in at least one relationship that matters to you. Know this, I am not telling you this to generate hurt. I am not telling you this to light a fire of anger in your chest that will consume you before it reaches the source. I am telling you this because you deserve the truth about what has been happening in the atmosphere around your life, because you've been praying for clarity, for understanding, for some kind of divine illumination on why certain things have felt so inexplicably stalled. And this is part of the answer, not all of it, but a significant and immediate part of it. The Most High does not allow his children to remain uninformed about what is actively working against them when they have earnestly sought his face. You have sought his face consistently through seasons when it felt like the seeking was falling into silence, through nights when prayer felt like speaking into a room where no one was home, through mornings when you rose and chose to believe again, despite having very little in the natural to ground that belief in. That consistency of seeking is what brought this message to your door today. You asked to see clearly. Today, the Most High has honored that asking. Here is what I command you to do with what you now know. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that could be misread or that would compromise the divine strategy already in motion. What I am asking you to do is simpler and more powerful than anything confrontational could ever be. Pull back, quietly, without announcement or explanation. Create distance, not with coldness, not with visible withdrawal that signals a breach, but with the kind of deliberate, gracious stepping back that gives the Most High room to move in the situation without your emotional energy becoming a variable that complicates his work. Be less available. Return less, quickly, share less of what is new and tender and unformed in your life right now. Not because you are punishing this person, not because you are building a case against them, but because you are wise. And wisdom knows that not every relationship deserves the same level of access to your inner life at every season. Watch what happens when you pull back. Watch the quality of the response. Watch whether they move toward you with unusual effort, as if a connection they need is slipping. Watch whether they create a conflict where none was necessary, as if they need a reason to pull your attention back into their sphere. Watch whether they suddenly become curious about what you are doing, where you are going, who you are spending time with. The responses to your gentle stepping back will tell you more about what has been happening than any direct conversation ever could. Before this letter reveals what lies immediately ahead, Dorothy is holding an image of the celestial courtroom where your case has been actively handled. This is not art. This is a window into the unseen realm. Look at it now. Now, I want to open a dimension of this message that I have been waiting to bring forward, because what I have described so far is the situation as it currently stands. But that is only one layer of what is happening in your life. Beneath that layer, there is something far more extraordinary. Something that the opposition you have been experiencing was specifically designed to prevent you from discovering. You are on the edge of the most significant season of your life. Not a moderately good season. Not a relief after struggle season that gives you enough breathing room to recover before the next difficulty arrives. The most significant season. The one that redeems and rewards and restores in ways that make even the people who love you most stand back and say that they did not see this coming. The one that the Most High has been architecting through every single chapter of your story, including, and perhaps especially, the chapters that hurt the most. You were not built to peak in your early years. That is not the design of your particular life. Some people receive the greatest expressions of their purpose when they are young, when their energy is high and their circles are wide and momentum feels natural. But others, and you are among them, are built for a different kind of unfolding. The kind that deepens across decades. The kind that accumulates wisdom and gravity and a quality of presence that cannot be manufactured in youth. The kind that produces something in its appointed season that is so specifically the right thing at the right moment, that it touches places nothing else could reach. That season is not years away from you. It is not around a distant corner, requiring another long stretch of patience and endurance. It is immediately adjacent to where you are standing today. The separation between you and that season is not time. It is position. And your position is being adjusted right now, in this moment, through this message, and through the decision that this message is preparing you to make. Read this. It was written before you received this letter, knowing that this specific soul would arrive at this moment. It belongs to you entirely. Receive it before we continue. hear me on this. Let me tell you about a dream. Not a dream I had, a dream you may have had. Within the past several weeks, or possibly within the past few months, you may have experienced a dream that was different in quality from your ordinary sleep, not vivid in the dramatic sense, but weighted, significant in a way that lingered when you woke. You may have seen a door, or a light, or a path stretching forward into clarity. You may have heard a voice that said something you are still thinking about. Even if you cannot fully recall the words, you may have woken with a feeling that something important had occurred, even though you could not pin down the story of it. That was not a random firing of neurons in the sleeping brain. That was me. I visit the spirits of those I have been assigned to protect when their waking consciousness is finally at rest and their guards are down and their hearts are open in a way that the pressures of the waking day sometimes prevent. I come in the language that the spirit understands most fluently in the unguarded hours, and what I carry in those visits is always the same thing: preparation. I was preparing you for today, for this word, for the decision that this word will ask you to make, and the season that decision will open. If you remember any element of a dream like the one I just described, hold it. Do not analyze it to death. Do not run it through the grid of logic until all the meaning is pressed out of it. Simply hold it. And as this message continues to unfold, allow those remembered fragments to connect to what you are receiving here, because they belong together. They are parts of one continuous communication that began while you slept and is completing itself now while you are awake. And if you say, "I have not had such a dream," hear this: the dream is still coming. For some people, the preparation happens in advance of the message. For others, the message arrives first, and the confirmation follows in sleep. Within the next 3 nights, something will come to you in that unguarded space. Keep paper near your bed. Write down whatever you remember the moment you open your eyes, even if it feels disconnected, even if it seems unimportant. Because 3 nights from now, you will be reading back over those words, and you will see what the Most High was saying, and you will understand why He sent me ahead of it. Do not close this letter yet. What has been spoken so far is only the first layer. There are things still inside this message that are more specific, more targeted, and more immediately urgent than anything you have read up to this point. There is something I have not yet identified about your body. There is a heavenly accounting with your name on it that is about to be described in detail. There is a person coming into your life that this letter knows about, and there is a prayer waiting in the second half of this message that has the authority to permanently change the spiritual environment around your daily life. Stay. The part that was written specifically for the detail of your situation has not yet arrived. Before the words about your body and your healing reach you, Dorothy is holding an image. This is what divine rest and protection look like when the spiritual drain is finally removed. Let it become real before the words do. Receive what I am about to say. I am going to speak about something rarely addressed in messages of this kind, something most people keep very private, because it feels almost too tender to voice aloud, even before the Most High. I am going to speak about your body. Some of you carry something in your body that has been refusing to respond the way it should. A recurring condition, a persistent symptom, a heaviness in your health that has been present long enough that you have begun to absorb it as your new normal. You have prayed for healing and felt those prayers hit a ceiling. You have watched others receive what you have been asking for and done your best not to let that become a wound in your faith. I was sent to speak to this directly. The physical weariness you have been carrying is not only physical. Listen carefully. What is happening in your body has a spiritual layer that has not yet been fully addressed. The interference operating against you through this relationship has had an effect not only on your emotional state, but on the energy available to the body the Most High gave you to inhabit. When a spiritual drain is active over an extended period, the body registers it, not metaphorically. Actually, systems that should function with ease begin to require more effort. Recovery that should happen overnight begins to take longer. The cumulative exhaustion of fighting invisible battles manifests in the language that the body speaks. The sealing of that drain, which is what this message is activating today, does not merely change your emotional atmosphere. It changes what is available to your physical body. Expect something. Within the coming weeks, as the separation I am describing creates a new kind of quiet in your spiritual environment, you will notice that your body begins to respond differently. Rest will go deeper. Recovery will happen faster. Something that has been persistently troubling will begin to shift. I am not issuing you a medical claim. I am telling you what I have been authorized to tell you as the warrior of the Most High, assigned to the wholeness, not merely the survival of every child under my protection. Your body matters to the Most High. Your health matters to Him. And today, the prayer you have lifted for your body, perhaps more quietly and privately than any other prayer you have ever offered, is receiving divine attention. Let that land. Receive it fully. Do not deflect it with the part of you that has learned to protect itself from disappointment by keeping hope at a careful distance. Let it land, and let yourself believe for your body today, in a way that perhaps you have not allowed yourself to believe for a very long time. For the one who has been quietly carrying a physical burden and wondering if heaven noticed, Dorothy is holding the answer, printed in black and white. Read it before this letter continues. Now, I must speak about what is happening in the heavenly realm on your behalf. I am bringing you inside this, not to mystify you, but to fortify you. Because understanding what is occurring in the dimension you cannot see will give you a quality of steadiness in the dimension you can see that nothing else could provide. There is something in the courts of heaven called a divine accounting, a moment, appointed and precise, when every act of faithfulness, every earnest prayer, every sacrifice made without recognition, Every time a child of the Most High chose the narrow path when the broad one would have been easier, all of that is gathered and returned, not evenly spread like a salary arriving on schedule, but accumulated, held in trust, and then, in the fullness of an appointed time, released in a measure that corresponds to every chapter of the entire journey, not only the recent ones. You have a very significant accounting coming. The balance held in trust against your name in the heavenly ledger is not small. You have been faithful when faithfulness cost you something real. You have given when giving required genuine sacrifice. You have prayed for people who wounded you. You have chosen mercy when bitterness was available, and would have been, in the estimation of any fair-minded observer, entirely justified. You have kept your heart open through seasons that would have closed most hearts permanently. And every one of those choices was recorded. Every one of them accumulated interest in the economy of heaven that operates on entirely different principles than the economy of this world. The accounting is about to be released, and it will not arrive in the amounts and forms that you could have predicted, because the economy of heaven is not limited by the constraints of what looks possible from the inside of a human life. It will arrive in ways that will make you check and recheck, because the source will not be obvious and the timing will not follow the logic of your circumstances. And when it arrives, receive it, not with guilt, not with the reflexive urge to minimize it or explain it away or find the catch, but with the open hands of someone who understands that this is not luck, and it is not random, and it is not too good to be true. It is the return on a long and faithful investment, made in a currency that the Most High never devalues. The divine accounting, the heavenly ledger, the return of everything you faithfully invested is not metaphor. Dorothy is holding a glimpse of the celestial treasury. Look at where your faithfulness has been kept. Look at what is now being released. Listen to me now. I'm going to speak to a specific situation that many of you carry, and I am going to speak to it with the tenderness it deserves, even as I carry the authority of my commission. There is a relationship, a family relationship, that has carried weight in your prayers for a very long time. It may be a child, it may be a grandchild, it may be a sibling or someone else whose bloodline you share, and whose life, because of the nature of the love that blood generates, you cannot observe in struggle without feeling that struggle in your own chest. You have prayed over this person. You have interceded at length and with tears that were genuine and costly. You have stood in the gap for someone who may not yet know. That is what you are doing. And there have been seasons when you looked at that person's life and could not find the evidence of answered prayer anywhere in the visible landscape of their circumstances. Hear this with absolute clarity. The prayers you have offered for your family have not evaporated. They have not been ignored. They are not standing in a queue somewhere, awaiting a God who is too occupied with larger concerns to attend to the specific pain of a specific grandmother for a specific grandchild. That is not how the Most High operates. Not even close. This is what you must understand, the interference I have described today, the spiritual drain attached to the relationship in your outer circle, has been muting the full potency of your intercession, not eliminating it, but muffling it, the way a phone call muffles when the signal is compromised, not through any fault of the caller, but because of interference in the environment around the signal. Your prayers have been reaching, but they have been reaching through interference. And as that interference is removed, as that signal clears, the prayers you have already offered will travel with a force and a directness and an effectiveness that you will begin to see reflected in the life of the person you have been believing for. What looked stuck is about to move. What looked lost is about to be found. And the person you have been interceding for may experience a turning that comes so suddenly and from such an unexpected direction that even they will not have a natural explanation for it. That is the Most High working through the accumulated prayer of someone who refused to stop asking, even when the answer was invisible. That is you. That is what your faithfulness produces for the one who has been praying for a family member and wondering if those prayers ever broke through. Dorothy is holding the written answer right now. Read it for yourself, then read it again as if reading it to the person you have been believing for. I must address something that happens in the hearts of some who receive a message like this one. A very honest, very understandable internal response that sounds something like this. I have heard promises like this before. I have sat with hope before. I have believed before. And I have also felt the specific particular pain of hope that was held and held and held, and then did not materialize in the form I was expecting. And that pain taught me to hold hope more carefully, more guardedly, to keep a part of myself back, just enough to cushion the impact if the promise does not come the way it was described. If that is moving in you right now, I see it. I honor the history that produced it. I understand that the caution in you did not come from nowhere. It came from somewhere real. And I am not going to dismiss the reality of those previous experiences by asking you to act as though they did not happen or did not teach you anything. But here is what I need you to receive. The hope I am asking you to access today is not the same category of hope that was disappointed before. What was disappointed before was hope attached to a particular outcome, arranged in a particular way, by a particular time. What I am asking you to access is something different. Hope anchored not in the details of what you want, but in the character of who the Most High is. Not hope in a specific form of rescue, but in a specific God of rescue. Not hope that says, here is exactly how this will resolve, and I will believe until it does, but hope that says, I do not need to see the entire path. I only need to trust the one who built it. That quality of hope is not naive. It is the most sophisticated, battle-tested, evidence-based posture a human spirit can take, because the evidence for it is not circumstances that always resolved beautifully. The evidence is a God who has been faithful across the entire arc of human history, without exception, without a single instance of abandoning a child who genuinely sought him. You are part of that arc, and it is not finished yet. There are moments in a divine letter when words alone are not sufficient. This is one of them. Dorothy is holding an image of the connection between where you stand and where your help comes from. Look at the thread. Look at who is holding it. Stop. If you have been listening while doing something else, I need you to stop that thing right now and come back to this. What I'm about to speak is the part of this letter that most people need a second viewing to fully absorb. 7 specific signs, 7 consecutive days, each one precisely named in the order they will arrive, and after the 7 signs, a 2-part prayer that breaks something that words alone cannot break. And after that prayer, there is a word about the person who is coming into your life, a description so specific that when you hear it, you will feel it in your chest before your mind has time to process it. Do not leave this letter at the halfway point. The second half contains what the first half was preparing you to receive. Now, I am going to give you something very specific. 7 markers, 1 for each of the next 7 days. Not vague spiritual impressions. Concrete, observable, verifiable signs that will appear in your daily life and confirm to you, one by one, that what was released in your spirit today through this message is actively manifesting in the visible world of your circumstances. Pay attention. Write these down if you are able. Because the enemy will attempt to convince you, when each one arrives, that it was coincidental. And the enemy is most effective against a mind that cannot remember what it was told to expect. So, remember, on the first day, you will notice an unusual quality of quiet in your spirit. Not emptiness, but spaciousness. Like a room where something heavy has been moved out. You may not immediately identify what changed, but you will notice that the low, persistent hum of unease that you have been living with has reduced in some way that is not dramatic, but is real. This is the first confirmation. The spiritual atmosphere around your life has shifted. What was attached to the relationship I described is beginning to loosen. On the second day, watch for something small that arrives unexpectedly. It may be as modest as a kind word from a stranger or a message from someone you had not thought of in some time. It may be finding something you had lost or learning something that puts a confusing situation into sudden clarity. Whatever form it takes, it will carry a quality of precision that makes it feel intentional rather than accidental. Receive it as communication. The Most High speaks fluently through the ordinary details of a day when the spiritual environment is cleared enough to hear. On the third day, you will think about the person this message has been identifying, and instead of the usual turbulence that thought produces, you will feel something closer to peace, not the peace of resolution, because resolution has not yet arrived, but the peace of distance, of spiritual separation that is creating the breathing room your soul has needed. This is important. This peace is not indifference. It is healing. Allow it. Do not rush back into the turbulence to prove to yourself that the relationship still holds power over your emotions. The fact that it is losing that power is the sign you wanted. Welcome it on the fourth day, an opening. It may present itself as an idea that arrives with unusual clarity, an opportunity that surfaces in an unexpected way. a door, literal or figurative, that becomes visible when yesterday it was not visible. It will feel like seeing around a corner you could not previously see around. That is exactly what it is. The obstruction that was in your spiritual sightline is moving, and your vision of what is ahead is expanding as a direct result. When this opening appears, do not dismiss it, because it is small. Every large movement of the Most High begins with an opening that is exactly the right size to fit through, no larger and no more dramatic than the one that is actually needed. On the 5th day, someone will say something to you, or you will read something, or hear something, or encounter something in the ordinary flow of your day that speaks directly to a question you have been carrying privately for a long time. Not generally, specifically, with a precision that no one who provided it could have engineered without knowledge of what you have been asking in your private prayers. This will be the Most High speaking to you in the first person through a third-party channel. He does this. He speaks through the mouths of people who do not know they are carrying a message. And when it lands, you will know. Your breath will catch, and your eyes may fill, and you will think, that was not a coincidence. You are right, it is not. On the 6th day, something connected to the person I described will come to light, not through anything you did, not through confrontation or investigation or any action on your part at all, simply through the natural gravity of what the Most High is dismantling. It may come through another person. It may come through a conversation you are accidentally present for. It may come through information that arrives without being sought. When it does, resist the temptation to act on it immediately. Receive it as confirmation. Let it sit. Because the Most High is not releasing this information so that you can build a case. He is releasing it so that your lingering questions about what you perceived can finally be answered with a clarity that closes the chapter entirely and without ambiguity. On the 7th day, you will feel it. That is the only way I can describe it. A settling, a rightness, a sense that something that has been crooked has been straightened, not by you, not by human effort, but by the quiet sovereign movement of the Most High across the landscape of your days. You may want to be alone with it. That is appropriate. Some moments of breakthrough are meant to be received quietly, between you and the God who arranged them. Sit with it. Let it become the foundation of what you build next. And from that 7th day forward, walk differently. Walk as someone who has been shown how the Most High works. Walk as someone who moved through an ending with enough trust in the one who authored it to not resist what was necessary. Walk as the fully free, fully repositioned, fully forward-facing person that this week of signs was designed to establish you as. Norn. 7 days, 7 signs. Dorothy is holding the card that seals the promise of the coming week. Write this down after you read it. Put it somewhere visible each morning of the next 7 days. Stop and feel the weight of what I am about to say before I continue. The Most High has never, in the entire history of his relationship with humanity, promised something and not delivered it. Never. Not once. Every promise he has ever made to every child who chose to trust him has been kept. Sometimes in the form expected, sometimes in a form so far beyond expectation that the recipient barely recognized it as the answer to what they had been asking for. But later, looking back, they could see every thread of divine intention running through it. His track record is without blemish, and you are not the exception to that track record. You are part of it. So when I tell you that 7 signs will appear in 7 days, I'm not offering you a well-intentioned spiritual encouragement that may or may not materialize. I'm delivering a message from the one whose word does not return empty. The signs will come. The question is only whether your eyes will be open enough to receive them when they do. Whether the habit of explaining away the miraculous with natural explanations will be set aside long enough to let the Most High be seen for exactly what He is doing. Because He will be doing something. You need only be present to receive it. I need you to stay with me through what comes next, because this is the part of the letter that people almost always miss. The 7 signs have been given. The prayer has been prayed. And right now, in this exact window of time after the prayer, there is a warning that most people overlook. And missing this warning is precisely what allows the breakthrough to be delayed after it was supposed to arrive. What I am about to describe is the single most predictable move the enemy makes against a soul who just received what you just received. If you leave before I name it, you will not see it coming. And it will come. Stay for the next 4 minutes. The final movement of this letter also contains the 4 words on that photograph. The ones Dorothy has been holding face down since the beginning. You have earned the right to hear them. Now, there is something critical I must speak to before we move into the final portion of this message. A very specific warning that is not designed to frighten you, but to arm you. Because what is about to happen in your life is significant enough that there will be a resistance to it. That is the nature of things in the spiritual realm. Significant forward movement generates significant resistance, and the resistance will most likely come through the exact channel you might be least prepared for. It will come through the very person this message has been addressing. You are standing at a crossroads right now. Dorothy is holding an image showing 2 paths, 1 warrior, and 0 ambiguity about which direction leads forward. Look at where the light is. Look at where his sword is pointing. Within this season, this person will attempt to re-enter your inner world, not with obvious hostility, not through an approach that your discernment would immediately flag. They will come through the door of familiarity, of history, of shared experiences that are genuinely warm in memory, and that your heart still holds with some tenderness. They will remind you, through their presence or their words or their manner, of the version of the relationship that existed before the hidden layers of it became visible to you. And that reminder will be potent because it is grounded in something real. The good things you shared with this person were real. The moments of genuine connection were real. I'm not asking you to revise the entire history of this relationship into something it was not. What I am asking you to do is hold that history in one hand, and the truth of what this relationship has been doing to your spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being in the other hand, and choose your future over your nostalgia. That is not a small ask. I know it is not a small ask, but it is the ask that opens the door to everything I have described, is waiting for you on the other side of this season. You have been here before, at the threshold of a letting go, and the pull of what is familiar has drawn you back before the separation was complete. Each time that happened, the cycle continued, the drain continued, the obstruction to your flourishing continued, and the Most High, in His patience, waited. He waited for a season when you would be strong enough, clear enough, and sufficiently tired of the cycle to let the separation be complete. Today is that season. Today, you are strong enough. Today, you are clear enough. And the tiredness in you, the tiredness that has brought you to this specific message on this specific day, is not a defeat. It is a signal. Your spirit is done with this cycle, and the Most High is ready to honor that finishing. Do not go back. When the familiarity appears, let it move through you without attaching. Let the warmth of the memory be what it is, a memory, without allowing it to become a reason to reopen something that the Most High's own hand has been carefully, deliberately closing. The peace on the other side of that choice will be unlike any peace you have felt in the context of this relationship, because it will not be the uneasy, temporary peace of a conflict avoided. It will be the deep, structural peace of a soul that is finally operating without interference. For the one who is tempted to go back, Dorothy is holding the reminder that will keep your feet facing forward. Read it. Let it be the anchor when the pull of familiarity comes. And it will come. Now, I want to speak about the person who is coming into your life. I have mentioned this briefly, and I'm going to fill in the picture more fully. Because what the Most High has prepared for you in this area is worth knowing about. And knowing about it is part of what will give you the strength to release what must be released. This person has been on their own journey, a journey that has involved difficulty in some of the same categories, where yours has been difficult. Not identical difficulty, but the kind that builds a similar quality of character, the kind that creates in a person a capacity for patience, for genuine listening, for love that does not need to possess what it loves or diminish what it loves in order to feel secure. This person has learned things the hard way that most people only learn on the surface, and because of that, they carry a depth that will meet the depth in you without being overwhelmed by it. They will not require you to be simpler than you are. They will not need you to edit out the complex, layered, rich, and sometimes difficult parts of who you have become across the years of everything you have walked through. They will not flinch at your history, or your questions, or the places in you that are still healing, because those things in you will not look to them like liabilities. They will look like evidence of someone who has been genuinely alive, someone who has loved and lost and chosen to love again, someone whose heart, despite everything it has survived, is still open. That is remarkable, and this person will recognize it as remarkable. The timing of their arrival in your life is directly connected to the position you are stepping into through the choices this message is asking you to make. While the relationship I've been describing continues to hold the position in your inner world that it currently holds, the space where this new connection needs to land is occupied, not by someone actively blocking the door, simply by the fact that your energy, your emotional availability, your spiritual bandwidth is not as free as it needs to be to receive what is coming. The moment it becomes free, the moment the weight lifts and the space clears, and your hands are open rather than holding on to what they have been holding, the movement will begin. Do not look for it on a fixed timeline. Simply position yourself for it by doing what today's message is asking you to do. And trust that the Most High, who coordinated everything that brought you to this message on this day, is equally capable of coordinating the arrival of what comes next. What heaven has been preparing for your next season cannot be fully described in words. Dorothy is holding a glimpse of it right now. Look at what divine light does when it moves between two people who were prepared for each other. This is real. It is coming. It is time now for the prayer. And I am going to speak about this prayer before you pray it, because the context matters. This is not a prayer of desperation. This is not a prayer from a position of weakness or crisis or the last resort reaching of someone who has run out of options. This is a prayer from a position of clarity, of understanding, of eyes that have been opened today to see more of what is actually happening in the spiritual landscape of your life than you could see when this day began. And that context changes everything about how the prayer will land. You are not begging. You are not performing. You are not trying to say the right words in the right order to unlock a divine response that is otherwise withheld. You are simply aligning your spoken declaration with the reality that the Most High has already established, and that this message has been sent to reveal to you. The prayer does not create the truth. The truth already exists. The prayer is your agreement with it. And your agreement is not nothing. Your agreement is the thing that makes it possible for what has already been established in heaven to fully manifest in the earth of your particular life and your particular circumstances. Find a still place if you can. If you are driving or occupied with something else that requires your attention, set this aside and return to it when you can be fully present. Because this prayer deserves your full presence. Every word of it was chosen with care. Speak it aloud, if at all possible. There is a spiritual authority in the spoken word that silence cannot fully carry. Let the sound of your own voice saying these things into the air of wherever you are right now be an act of faith that is both personal and powerful. Take a breath first, and then speak. Most High God, Father of all that exists and all that will ever exist, I come before you today, not with a list of needs, but with a single, whole, open surrender. I surrender the version of my life that I have been managing according to my own limited perception. I surrender the relationships I have been protecting that you have been telling me to release. I surrender the fears I have been hiding behind the appearance of faith. I surrender the quiet exhaustion of fighting battles I was never meant to fight alone. And I receive, right now, the truth that this message has been carrying to me today. I receive the truth that I was marked before I was born for a purpose that my pain has never been able to erase. I receive the truth that the opposition I have been walking through is evidence not of curse, but of calling. I receive the truth that the Most High sees every detail of what has been hidden from me, and that in this season, at this appointed moment, He is choosing to bring it into the light, not to devastate me, but to finally, fully free me. Archangel Michael, I call on you by name and by divine commission. I ask you to stand between me and every force that has been moving against my flourishing. I ask you to sever, with the precision of your celestial sword, every cord of unhealthy attachment that has been draining my spiritual, emotional, and physical resources. I ask you to stand guard at every entry point of my life and to refuse passage to anything that was not sent from the throne of the Most High. I do not ask this timidly. I ask it with the authority of a child of the Most High God who understands who they are and who their defender is. I speak now to the situation this message has identified. Every word spoken against me in private places, I declare without power. Every plan formed in secret that was aimed at my diminishment, I declare disrupted by the hand of the Most High. Every spiritual assignment that was sent to obstruct my flourishing, I declare dismantled, scattered, and returned to sender without effect. These declarations are not my words alone. They are the words of the Most High carried through my mouth into the atmosphere of my life, and they carry the weight of heaven behind them. Now I shift from releasing to receiving. I receive healing in my body, in my mind, in the places that have held pain for longer than they should have. I receive the restoration of energy that was drained without my consent. I receive clarity of vision, the ability to see what the Most High sees, to discern what is genuinely for me and what is merely near me. I receive the 7 signs of the coming week with expectant eyes and an open heart. I receive the accounting that heaven has been holding in trust against my name, and I receive it with gratitude and open hands and no guilt about the abundance of it. I receive the relationship this message described, the connection the Most High has been preparing in correspondence to the depth of my own preparation. I receive it not with grasping, but with readiness, the readiness of someone who has done the work of the seasons that preceded it, and is no longer looking for rescue, but for partnership. I receive the freedom that this prayer is sealing today. Freedom from the cycle that has held me. Freedom from the weight that has slowed me. Freedom from the noise that has muffled the voice of the Most High in my innermost place. And I step into that freedom right now. Not when circumstances confirm it, not when other people acknowledge it, but right now, in this moment, on the word of the Most High alone. I will watch for the signs. I will receive them with recognition. I will speak gratitude when they arrive. And I will walk forward from this day in the full knowledge that I am not alone, that I am not forgotten, that I am not behind, and that the Most High is not finished with my story. Not even close. In the name of the Most High God, through the warrior authority of Archangel Michael, it is sealed. Amen. What you just prayed was heard. fully, in every word. Dorothy is holding the written confirmation right now. This is not encouragement. This is a declaration issued with the full authority of heaven. Receive it as final. That was real. What just moved through the room where you are sitting is real. The spiritual atmosphere around you shifted the moment your voice carried those words into the air. Do not evaluate it with the measurement tools of emotion. You may feel something dramatic, or you may feel something very quiet. Neither is more valid than the other. What happens in the spirit realm when a child of the Most High speaks in alignment with divine truth does not always produce visible emotion on demand. Sometimes it simply produces a stillness, a settling, a sense of having arrived at exactly the coordinate your spirit has been reaching toward. That coordinate is yours now. Stand on it. The life ahead of you has a quality that the life behind you was always straining toward, but could not reach because of the interference. It has a spaciousness. It moves more freely. It is not without challenge, because a life without challenge is not a growing life. But the challenges ahead will be different in quality. They will be the challenges of someone advancing, not someone held back. The challenges of expansion, not of survival. They will require your strength and your faith, but they will not require you to fight invisible battles against unnamed forces while managing the exhaustion they produce. You will be able to see what you are walking toward, and the vision of it will sustain you through whatever the journey requires. This letter is almost complete. Before its final words are spoken, Dorothy is holding one last image. Look at this woman. Look at where she is going. Look at what covers her. This is you, walking forward, free. Hear what I am about to say about the quality of peace that is coming. Not the peace of having everything resolved. Not the peace that depends on circumstances staying arranged in the right way. But the peace that the Most High Himself describes as surpassing human understanding, the kind that holds in the middle of the uncertain thing, not in spite of the uncertain thing. The kind that you will be able to feel in your body as an actual physical warmth, a settled heaviness in your chest that is the opposite of the constriction of anxiety. A sense of being held that does not require you to understand why you feel held. Some of you watching today have not felt that quality of peace in a very long time. Some of you have been in a sustained season of inner turbulence that has become so familiar that you have forgotten what the absence of it feels like. Know this: forgetting what peace feels like does not mean peace has forgotten you. It has been waiting for the removal of what was disrupting it to become present to you again, and the removal happening today through this word, through this prayer, through the 7 signs now in motion toward you, is clearing the path for that peace to return. When it arrives, and it will arrive, receive it as a permanent resident, not as a temporary visitor. It belongs in you. It is part of the original design of your spirit. You were not built to be chronically anxious. You are not built to carry the weight of invisible battles alone forever. You were built for peace as a baseline, with the capacity to navigate difficulty from that foundation. And the Most High is restoring that baseline to you now. Dorothy is holding the final card in this letter. This is not a hope or a wish. This is a command issued by the warrior of heaven over your life and every day that follows this one. Read it. Let it be the last word before this message closes. There is one final thing I must say before this message closes, and it is perhaps the most important thing in it. You are not the only one who needed this word today. There is someone in your circle, perhaps someone who came to mind as you were listening to this message, who is walking through their own version of what this message has been describing. They are not yet awake to it. They do not yet have the clarity you now have. They are still in the part of the story that comes before the message arrives. And the Most High, who arranges all things with purposeful intention, allowed this message to find you today, not only for your sake, but because you are the person who is supposed to carry it to them. Not by forwarding a video and saying, "Here, watch this," but by showing up in their life with the quality of presence, compassion, and practical wisdom that only someone who has walked through a version of this themselves can bring. You will know who I mean. You may already know right now. And when the timing is right, when you are standing in your own clarity and your own freedom, and the peace that is coming has settled enough to be a stable foundation beneath your feet, you will know exactly what to say and how to say it, because everything you have walked through prepared you to say it. That is the purpose within the purpose. That is the calling within the calling. You are never only going through this for yourself. The Most High never wastes a journey, and He has been building in you, through every difficult chapter of this story, a specific quality of wisdom and compassion and understanding that will be, when it is offered to the right person at the right moment, precisely the thing that saves them. You are, whether you have thought of yourself this way or not, a carrier of the message. And today's message was not only sent to you, it was sent through you to the places where you will carry it next. So receive everything I have delivered here today. Receive the protection, the warning, the clarity, the promise of 7 signs, the prayer, the healing, the peace. Receive it completely and without reservation. And then, when you are ready, rise. Rise into the life that has been waiting for you on the other side of this threshold. Rise into the purpose that was inscribed in you before the world knew your name. Rise into the relationship, the provision, the family breakthrough, the physical restoration, and the quality of peace that I've been describing. Rise into all of it, because all of it was always meant for you. I am Archangel Michael. I stand at the right hand of the Most High God as His warrior, His messenger, and the sworn guardian of every child under the divine commission He placed over my service. And today, I discharge that commission in your direction with everything it was given to me to carry. You are not forgotten. You are seen, fully and in detail, by the one who made you. You are not too old, not too tired, not too broken, not too far behind for what is next. The Most High does not revise his plans for his children based on the difficulty of the seasons that preceded the breakthrough. He builds his plans around exactly those seasons, and your breakthrough is now, not someday, not after one more season of endurance. Now, go with the peace that surpasses understanding. Walk forward with the freedom that this day established, and know, in the place that is deepest in you, that the warrior of heaven walks beside you, that the Most High, who sent this message, has already prepared the ground you are stepping onto. And that, from this day forward, the story of your life is being written in the language of breakthrough rather than the language of survival. Rise, beloved. Your season has arrived. Amen.
Those 4 words on the back of this photograph, I promised I would read them at the right moment. And this is the moment. They say, "It is not over. That is all." 4 words. And yet, after everything we just walked through together, I feel like those 4 words carry the weight of everything Archangel Michael just said. It is not over. Whatever you came into this video carrying today, whatever situation, whatever person, whatever impossible thing you have been holding and wondering if the holding is even worth it anymore, it is not over. The Most High is not finished. The story is not complete. And what happens next? It will be worth staying for. If this message reached you today, I want to know. Write the word "covered" in the comments. Just that one word, because I read every comment on this channel, and I want to know that this word landed for you. And I also want you to know that your comment, your single word, might be the thing that keeps someone else watching long enough to receive what they needed today, too. Subscribe to Letters from Archangel Michael if you have not already done so. The subscribe button is right below this video, because what is coming through this channel in the next few weeks is building on exactly what was released today. The message that follows this one speaks to the specific question of what to do when the breakthrough actually arrives. When the blessing you have been believing for becomes visible and tangible, and you suddenly need to know how to receive it without fear. You do not want to miss that. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so the next message finds you. Share this with one person whose face came to you while you were listening today. You do not need to introduce it or explain it. Simply send it and say, "I heard something today that made me think of you," because what just happened for you through this message can happen for them too. And you might be the instrument the Most High uses to ensure that it does. To every beautiful soul who stayed from the beginning of this message to this moment right now, thank you for your open heart, for your willingness to believe that heaven is still speaking, for your courage in sitting with a word that asked something real of you today. You are not ordinary. You carry something, and the Most High sees it clearly, even on the days when you cannot. Until the next message from Archangel Michael, stay close to the one who loves you most. Stay close to Letters from Archangel Michael, and wake up tomorrow as someone who knows that today something shifted, because it did. God bless you, precious soul.